In what can only be described as karma in action, USA Basketball has announced a complete overhaul of its selection process following the Olympic snub of Caitlin Clark. Those involved, including Jen Rosati, Don Staley, and the actual committee, appear to be gone. What happens when the most marketable athlete in women's basketball is left off the Olympic team? It seems like heads roll, and I'd rather watch the dirt just be moved around because Caitlin Clark isn't on the team. If she is there, it's employment TV. What actually happened to Cheryl Reeve and the U.S. Olympic Committee? If you're excited about Caitlin playing in the Olympics, comment CC Dumia Van Twit below. The committee used to be made up of Don Staley, Jennifer Rizzuti, and all of the hooligans involved in choosing the USA basketball team. Cheryl Reeves was one of those hooligans who were so self-centered and so bound by tribalism that they couldn't see past their own noses. At the end of the day, look at them now, and they're suffering the same fate as Cheryl Swoopes calling those Dallas Wings games. The Olympic Committee had reasons for not including Caitlin Clark, or at least that's what they wanted us to believe. Jen Rosati, the chair of the selection committee, said that the decision was made solely on the basis of basketball criteria and that experience, international play, marketability, and popularity were not taken into consideration. For example, during the Olympics, the person from South Korea or Japan, pardon me while I hold up the Caitlin Clark sign, looked at that man and said, $, $, $, $, $, $, $. These people over there in Japan are in South Korea, and they're not paying for Team USA to come and watch. But they will pay for Caitlin Clark, are so adamant about saying they will pay for Caitlin Clark that they will show up to the Olympic game with a sign that reads, "We." You guys remember? Wait, what are you telling me? They ignored the most talented player in women's basketball who just so happened to break almost every NCAA scoring record. A player who changed the entire women's basketball landscape in less than a year? It makes sense. And it's not just about popularity. Clark had a lot of international experience, playing for Team USA in the FIA, under the SNUB tournament, winning gold twice, and winning tournament MVP. To improve the game, let's examine what actually happened when Clark joined the WNBA. Every time the Fever visited a city, teams that couldn't fill half of their arena saw sellout crowds, and the Indiana Fever's first game against the Connecticut Sun garnered higher ratings than any NBA playoff game. That same weekend, Clark's jersey became the highest-selling rookie jersey in WNBA history, and it wasn't even close. Additionally, during her historic rookie season, she broke 62 records. Finally, the NBA's commissioner, Adam Silver, came out and said, "I wouldn't have left Caitlin Clark off that team." Others said, women's basketball really dropped the ball on an opportunity to grow the women's game by leaving Caitlin Clark off that team. These weren't just small changes. There was a radical change in the way people watched women's basketball, and the Olympic Committee decided this player wasn't valuable enough for the team. The backlash was swift, and basketball insiders saw through the flimsy excuse, and Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back, denouncing the decision as one that actively hampered the growth of women's basketball at its most critical juncture. Four-time Olympic gold medalist Lisa Leslie called it the biggest marketing error in basketball history. The stupidity of Team USA women's basketball. You know what? This really exposed an antiquated system that was run by people who were unwilling to change. The committee didn't realize that Clark wasn't just a talented player. She was a once-in-a-generation opportunity to elevate the sport on the global stage. If you think about it, the Olympics are when casual fans tune into sports and they usually ignore it. It's when new stars are born. The committee purposefully chose to exclude the one player who had demonstrated that she could draw those exact viewers. Hey dummies, for the first time in basketball history, you have arguably the most popular player in the world. Like, you could argue right now, Caitlin Clark is the most talked about, most popular, and most put asses in the seats single basketball player in the world. You could argue that. Sure, maybe LeBron, Luka, whatever you want, but you leave her off the Olympic team. It's not just a showcase for her, it's also for the sport and the other WNBA players on this team. How stupid, how brain dead, how stupid do the people running this thing have to be? This wasn't just about Clark missing an opportunity, it was about women's basketball missing its moment. The committee's insistence on putting experience before star power created such a public relations disaster that something had to be done about it. Evident to defend, but as awful as the public outcry was, it turned out that the Olympic snub was only the visible tip of the iceberg. Behind the scenes, USA Basketball's entire operation was displaying cracks that were impossible to ignore any longer. The Clark decision wasn't an isolated incident. Rather, it was the inevitable outcome of a broken system that was about to collapse around the people who created it. I believe that if Caitlin Clark had participated, the Olympic Games would have had the highest ratings of the previous year. Okay, and I don't know what it could have done to women's basketball. Cheryl Reeve wants you to think she had nothing to do with Caitlin Clark's exclusion from the Olympic team. She claims she had no say in the selection process and even claimed she took a lot of bullets for. Although Reeve wasn't the only voice in the room, her influence over the selection process was evident. Jen Rosati, the chair of the selection committee, acknowledged that they built the team specifically for Reeves's coaching style. So when Reeves claims she had no power, what she really means is that she didn't want to take responsibility when fans asked why the most dynamic player in women's basketball was watching from home. Nice try, USA Basketball coach. The facts tell a completely different story. The U.S. women's team was embroiled in controversy prior to the Olympics because Kane Clark was left off the roster. The committee argued that Clark, a rising global megastar in the sport, should not have been included because she had not participated in many Team USA off-season events and because other women with more national team experience had earned the right to play at the Olympics. The players who made the final roster were veterans who fit Reeves' system and prioritized defense over offensive firepower. These decisions were in perfect alignment with Reeves' Minnesota Lynx philosophy, which almost cost Team USA the gold medal. Based on Kane Clark's performance at the time, she was competent enough to be on the team. It's difficult to see it in front of you, Caitlin Clark against Jewel Lloyd, Diana Taurasi, and Kelsey Plum. The question is, why isn't Chelsea Gray on this graph? Chelsea Gray began the season injured, recalling that nail-biter against France, in which the USA narrowly won 66 in a game they were supposed to dominate throughout the tournament. The team struggled to generate consistent offense in crucial moments. The ball was not moving, and there wasn't enough three-point shooting. These are the exact reasons why a player like Clark could have made the difference. The team appeared slow and predictable at times, lacking the energy and originality that characterized Clark's game. Based on her skill level and her performance after recovering from an injury, you have no idea how good she is as a player. Kane Clark should have been on that team. She was undoubtedly one of Jump Street's best players. She is struggling, oh my God, with seize points, 6 assists, and 5.5 rebounds, and she is shooting 39%. Yes, July always shoots like garbage. Kelsey, you have come on, guys. The most damning evidence against Reeves' judgment came from Clark herself, who averaged Kins points before the Olympic snub, 6 points and 6. And after being excluded from the team, those figures increased to nearly 23 points and 9 assists per game. 5 assists, and she even set a WNBA rookie record with 9 assists in one game. These are the top 3 scorers in the WNBA since the women's team won gold at the Olympics a few weeks ago. And 2 of them are from the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. Reeve's handling of the situation only made it worse when a reporter asked Clark about her Olympic future after a game. "Why the hell would I answer a national team question?" she said, literally wearing her Minnesota Lynx gear at the time, obviously separating herself from elementary responsibilities when the questions became uncomfortable. This wasn't just about one poor decision. It was about leadership that refused to adjust to the changing landscape of women's basketball. The USA won gold, sure, but they almost blew it. There was a lot of discussion about women's basketball. The run that South Carolina's youth team had to the national championship, a perfect season, and whether or not Caitlin Clark should be on the U.S. women's national team. You were part of the selection group, so please share your thoughts on that. Now that we have some time, we can get some clarity on what happened. The best team of players, the best talent. Caitlin is just a rookie in the WNBA, but she wasn't playing poorly, but she wasn't playing like she's playing now. Reeves' dubious roster choices, the team's lackluster play, and her prickly attitude toward legitimate criticism created the ideal storm. Something had to change for American basketball to continue with a system that valued tradition over talent and marketability. She is playing head and shoulders above many others, shooting the ball incredibly well, and she is an elite passer. If we were playing the way she's playing now, she would be in high consideration. Something they can't even admit to. In addition to exposing flaws in the selection process, the Clark controversy exposed fundamental issues with USA Basketball's approach to team building overall. The fallout demanded a complete reimagining of what Olympic basketball could be. Sue Bird is expected to be announced as the managing director for the USA women's national team for the 2028 Olympic cycle. She will take on what is known as the Grant Hill role, selecting player rosters and coaching staff. For those of you who aren't too familiar with the WNBA, or as the managing director of the women's national team, Sue Bird, a 5-time Olympic gold medalist, 4-time WNBA champion, and all-around legend of the game, is taking over. This isn't just a new face at the top, it's a complete overhaul of how Olympic teams will be built going forward. On Thursday, USA Basketball will announce a significant shift in a structuring when Sue Bird is announced as the managing director for the USA women's national team, Duzzling Van Twee cycle. The long-standing practice of using a committee to choose players and coaches for national team rosters follows a very close call for the USA women in Paris. The announcement, first reported by The Athletic and verified by multiple sources, represents a fundamental shift in power. Bird will not be a part of some nebulous committee, suggesting that she will have direct control over both player selection and coaching decisions. This sounds famous. And it is exactly how the men's team operates under Grant Hill, who has held the position since 2021. As financial opportunities for women in the sport and in marketing, USA Basketball wanted to make sure it was doing everything it could to maintain the appeal of competing in major international events. Is going to have a significant impact on players, according to a source close to the USA program. Consider what this means. No more coaches saying they took bullets for decisions they allegedly didn't make. No more mysterious committee decisions behind closed doors. If she wants Caitlin Clark on the team, then Clark will be on the team, period. Bird's marketing savvy, not just her basketball IQ, is what makes her ideal for this role. She knows what sells tickets and grows the game. Bird has publicly acknowledged Clark's unique appeal, saying, Caitlin, in particular, her long-distance threes. I always said this, we finally got the antidote to dunking. She also realized that Clark had jolted people out of their slumber about women's basketball. Sue Bird has been a vocal supporter of Caitlin Clark, and she understands that while traditional basketball skills matter, star power matters too. The Olympics aren't just about winning gold medals, though that's obviously the goal. They're about showcasing the sport to millions of casual viewers who might become lifelong fans. However, while everyone was criticizing Caitlin Clark last year, she was one of those advocating for her, and I don't think you will. The timing of this announcement isn't coincidental. As women's basketball enters its golden age of popularity, USA Basketball saw the Clark controversy unfold and realized that sticking with the old system wasn't sustainable. They witnessed a gold medal game that was too close for comfort, and they realized that Bird's new role is a significant change for the USA. Clark will not be on that team next time, I can assure you. She also brings credibility with current players that no one else could match. She competed alongside or against almost every established star in the league, and she knows who works well with others, who boosts teammates, and who shrinks in big moments. What does all of this restructuring mean for Caitlin Clark specifically? Her Olympic future has just gotten a whole lot brighter, and the story of her potential redemption is just getting started. I believe it's going to be the LA Games. Wow. Bird's appointment marks a clean break from politics and tradition. It signals that USA Basketball is finally ready to embrace both elite talent and marketability when building teams. No more outdated thinking, no more mysterious committee decisions, just straight-up basketball decisions made by someone who understands both the game and its business side. When most athletes are passed over, they complain on social media or give sour interviews. However, Caitlin Clark responded by getting even better after the Olympic Committee left her home. This reaction didn't surprise anyone who knows Clark well. Her high school coach, Kristen Meyer, had noticed this pattern before, and Mir revealed that Clark's biggest improvements always followed her biggest. So they were getting criticized not only by fans, but also by people involved in basketball at a high level who weren't in the WNBA. Had adversity hits, you either kind of crumble and feel sorry for yourself, or it causes you to dig a little deeper, observed Meyer, describing Clark's transformation from disappointment at not making the USA Accept World Cup team in 2018. We got to remember that old guard, and I believe it was fraudulent as hell. The appointment of Clark Doug Deeper Bird comes before a potentially youthful version of the women's national team that features new prospects like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Paige Beckers, none of whom have been chosen for Team Paris. There are also concerns about several veterans returning, like guard Chelsea Gray and center Brittany Greer. The Olympic snub may have been the biggest motivator, but by the time the 2028 Summer Olympics arrive in Los Angeles, Clark will be 26 years old and in her prime basketball playing years. That's the sweet spot where physical ability meets mental maturity. Last year, the old guard put Diana Taurasi on that team so she could win, was it a 7th, 6th, 7th, or 6th gold medal? Maybe a 6th, but because they allowed that to happen and they didn't bring Caitlin Clark on that team, they made sure that Caitlin Clark would never be able to surpass Diana Taurasi's record because she would simply have to play for far too long. Indiana basketball fans are already swarming around her, adding pieces that enhance her special abilities with each season. The Clark of 2028 will probably be a more effective scorer, a more cunning passer, and a more capable defender than the Clark of today. Los Angeles 2028 also create the ideal environment for Clark's Olympic debut on Hollywood Celebrity Row primetime television. The marketing opinions are endless for someone with Clark's appeal, and it would be foolish for USA Basketball to pass up the opportunity to have the face of women's basketball play in the world's entertainment capital. If they had been on Team USA, I would have placed Caitlin Clark on Team USA. With Sue Bird in charge, Clark won't just make the team. She'll likely be the focal point. Bird understands basketball excellence and star power. She knows what Clark brings to the table goes beyond stats. It's about expanding the game globally. What began as an Olympic snub has unintentionally created the foundation for something much bigger. Yes, I would put her absolutely on Team USA. Imagine the storylines if Clark shares the court with Angel Reeve and other rivals who turn into teammates. Der competitive historie ou dat de un nouvel air of intrigue to the Olympic tournament. Clark now has the opportunity to represent USA basketball for a whole generation. Sometimes the most heartbreaking rejections result in the most fulfilling redemption stories. I believe that everyone expects Caitlin Clark to succeed, and the NBA is no exception when the league's commissioner, who is actually Kathy Engelberg's boss, publicly declares that it was a great miss for women's basketball to have left Caitlin Clark off the team, and that you should make sure you get her on the team. Sometimes the biggest mistakes lead to the best opportunities. What began as a contentious Olympic snub has completely changed USA basketball, with Sue Bird's vision for the future replacing the previous system. If you're excited about Caitlin competing in the Olympics, leave a comment below with CC 2028, like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss it. This recognition suggests that Clark won't just make the 2028 team, she'll be central to its identity. The wait until Los Angeles may seem long to Fever fans, but it's setting up the perfect redemption story by 2028. We'll be watching Clark lead Team USA to gold.